Gen Z are not backing down. But before I talk about Gen Z in Uganda and their dissatisfaction when it comes to how government responds to corruption, they are tirelessly demanding for the resignation of a Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, alongside so many other parliamentarians that have refused to sign on the petition whose aim is to impeach Matthias Mpuga, alongside commissioners in Parliament that have already been accused of taking bribes, exorbitant amounts. In the case of Mpuga, he has been found out for accepting amounts up to 500 million Ugandan shillings, $500 million Ugandan shillings. This is 500 million Ugandan shillings that could have gone a long way in improving numerous communities, at least one of his constituencies. But today we are talking about someone who has joined the Gen Z in form of an entertainer, a musician, very talented young woman who has spoken out recently and has made the news, the talented Azawi. You see, when it comes to corruption, so much has been infiltrated. You cannot believe it. Musicians have been compromised. These are the same entertainers that expect the same people, the wananchi, through their hard-earned money, overtaxed audience, to pay for their tickets, ever increasing tickets. Numerous concerts happen during the year. These musicians, they are shamelessly dining with the regime. So yes, I'm going to play a video, a very short video. This is when Azawi spoke her mind, and believe me, this what she says in the recent Twitter Spaces that was hosted by Kabushenga. Kabushenga, someone that I'm actually shocked is holding such spaces on Twitter and discussing about mismanagement and graft with the young people on Twitter. Very suspicious, if I must say. I will give you why. I will give you reasons as to why I am very suspicious when it comes to Kabushenga holding these dialogues with young people online. But for now, let me share an excerpt from Azawi straight out of Twitter.
Father, due to poor health care. I have lost my sister just after giving birth because of poor health care. And then you wake up one morning and you see someone bamuwadde million bitano. Ngolaba omuyimbi bamuwadde billion 5 eza Uganda azikozesa. And this is really sad because these are artists that have been here for some time. They have established themselves. They are doing okay. But then someone in our government wakes up one morning, nagamba, but abayimbi katubaweeyo billion 5 beyagala azikozesa. Bafani tebamuwagira. I'm angry to the point that I can even punch a wall.
Please don't, please.
And this, yes, and this anger has been accumulating for the last, I don't know how many years. If it was not for this talent, that is why I'm like, for the fact that Ugandans have supported me ever since my career started, this is where the point I come through for them. Now, when the time comes for them to hold their concert, they want people to turn up for them. You're not using your voice, you're not using your platform to say anything, to put pressure, to press pressure, to create awareness.
Wow. Yeah. For those of you who do not understand some of course, she was speaking in both English and Luganda passionately about issues that are so relatable. I mean, she mentions her family, a father, a sister, both dying, and the circumstances that are very preventable. If only our health sector was well facilitated. I remember my own situation on the brink of losing my grandmother in Mulago Hospital, the biggest hospital in Kampala, Uganda, of course, in the entire country. I remember it quite vividly. It was one of the most heartbreaking moments that I've ever experienced, which is why I am so terrified of hospitals. My grandmother was fighting for her life and we needed oxygen. It was a Sunday afternoon. She just had surgery. There was a very urgent need for oxygen. And this referral hospital, the biggest hospital in the country, did not have oxygen. I was working for Watoto at the time, and as a guest relations personnel, a tour guide that used to help many Watoto childcare partners that came into the country, you know, running their itinerary and taking them around, making sure that they fulfill their mission in building schools as well as homes for the orphans. Watoto does have a baby's home. I remember calling the baby's home and desperately asking in case they had oxygen that they could help us with. But of course, that was just a long shot, but it shows how desperate I was because the baby's home at Watoto was more facilitated than the referral hospital. This is a baby's home that looks after. At the time, it had over barely 60 babies that were rescued from trash heaps and they were taken care of. It has incubators. More facilitated than a referral hospital. This is why Azawi is pissed. She is speaking out of observation. Not just out of observation, but out of experience at the same time. Castigating the behavior of our colleagues in the industry, the entertainment industry. These individuals that are dining with the same man that is brutalizing their fans. The irony, the sheer irony. And for me, my thing is that if you do not feel the need to stand for the people, your target audience, the people that have supported your career, because she is saying specifically that if it wasn't for the fans that she has, there was no way that she would be able to fulfill her dream of becoming a musician, becoming a public figure. And this is the reason as to why she decides to speak out. But for the case of those that cannot speak out, the big musicians, we're talking about Chameleon. Yes, he has a show coming out. And the sad part about this is that Chameleon's show is going to be able to fill up. Because you know why? It is at Serena Hotel. And the amounts, the exorbitant amounts that are required for him to attract an audience. This is a legendary musician, one of the best Uganda has ever experienced, has ever had or produced. This is a musician that if there was organization in the music industry, a copyright law that empowers musicians, this is a musician that would have been on par with so many leading musicians and entertainers in Africa. He's supposed to not just only be a musician for Uganda, a legendary musician for Uganda, but Africa at large. But well, he's one that accepts envelopes in front of the people that have supported his career into legendary status. And he's holding a show. He cannot speak, he cannot tweet about the corruption in the parliament because he has been compromised. This is what makes Azawi and so many of us so disappointed. So disappointed. What Azawi has shared, everyone has experienced. Even these musicians have experienced. But short-term benefits over morals. If you start interviewing the likes of Bebe Cool and all these Eddie Genz, if you start interviewing them, believe me, some of the musicians that will appear on their radar as inspiration, you'll be shocked that these were their role models. They will most likely mention Lucky Dube. They will most likely mention Bob Marley. They will most likely mention some of the leading musicians in the world the globe has ever seen. They will most likely mention these musicians. But because of amnesia, they will miss out the details of what these musicians stood for. Fela Kuti, they will miss the details. They will even look at emulating the likes of Davido, big African musicians that have stood for the people of Nigeria in their most urgent time of need, when politics was making it impossible for their fans to fulfill their dreams as either Nigerians, South Africans, you name it, big musicians that have stood for the people. That's why Azawi is mad. And that's why as we Ugandans are supposed to be so mad, and that we should take the battle against corruption to the level of ignoring these musicians. To the point that they can only perform for chairs. That's what should be happening. Maybe then they will wake up. Some musicians have woken up, like Big I. I used to wonder what kind of cloth was covering his eyes. But I see him. He knows what's up. He has experienced. Some never learn, like Catherine Kusasira. Uganda, we need to wake up. Gen Z might just be the time we have been waiting for, might just be the generation we have been waiting for. I hope and hope that this is the time that the whole nation will rise up against the impunity and the injustice of the NRM militia, because this is not a government. This is not a government. I don't think they ever transitioned from being rebels. They came to steal, kill, and destroy. And the evidence is there for us to see. That's what's up. Yes, I mean, you go to Twitter, be active on Twitter Spaces. There's so many conversations that are happening. I'll do my best to cover these stories and make sure that I do my part. I might be speaking to only 5 people at the moment, but please like, share, and subscribe so that this can reach out to even a wider audience. As together, we can wake up and take matters into our own hands as Ugandans. Bless up. That's right. Cheers.